Hey guys, what's up? It's Zyflin here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Kreska, a corpus melee weapon that was added into the game with the Fortuna update. It's a machete, so people are going to write it off instantly, but it's not too bad. You need to invest free forma into it, you got to make a condition overload crit hybrid build, and it does, pretty okay-ish damage, right? But that can be said for pretty much any melee weapon that has or the potential to be modded for, a crit condition overload hybrid, right? So this is a standard build that you use. It's prime pressure point for your damage, blood rush for your critical chance, drifting contact for your combo duration so you can keep your combo multiplier up, virulent scourge and voltaic strike so you can effectively and efficiently proc your corrosive procs and any other procs that the weapon can actually go ahead and proc. So for example, you have IPS times by 4, so you have your slash damage, puncture damage, impact damage, and on this weapon slash is the most predominant, so slash is more likely to proc. You also have heat damage on there, which is built into the weapon, which is really nice, so that's cool as well. Drifting contact is also going to give us a boost to our status chance too, which is decent. We have organ shatter on there for our critical damage, condition overload for that multiplicative bonus from whenever we have our status procs applied to enemies, and then we have berserker on there, which is basically for our DPS. It's going to increase our attack speed as we land critical hits up to 75%, which is really cool. So with the build out of the way, let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about the base stats and all that jazz. Now with machetes, they're not generally the most sought after melee weapon class simply because the stances are kind of bad. Cyclone Kraken, in my opinion, is a must have if you're running a machete. But, it's really down to you. If you only have Sunder and Weave, then that's the only choice that you're going to have. But I recommend farming up Cyclone Kraken as soon as you can. I don't know the exact drop off the top of my head right now, but it is definitely a must-have if you want to use this melee weapon, even though I don't necessarily recommend it, because you can get better results with a similar build on other melee weapons, such as a Zaw, for example, right? A sword, a grit sword, or a polearm. With that exact same build, and even like being able to throw on a Riven with your polearm Zaw or whatever the case may be, you're just going to get a lot more damage, right? So if you want to invest forma into this weapon, you can do so, but you're going to get better results with other melee weapons, right? So we have an attack speed of 0.9. We have our channeling cost of 5, channeling damage of 1.5 times, critical chance of 14%, which is kind of low, critical multiplier of 2 times, damage block of 85%, leap attack of 70, riven dispo of 3, spin attack of 210, status chance of 22%, wall attack of 280. Then we have our base heat damage, our base slash damage, base puncture damage, and impact. So we have 40 on the heat, 15 on the slash, 5 on the puncture, and then 10 on the impact, slash being the most predominant physical damage type, which in my opinion is really good. So with all that being said, we're going to go ahead and test our crit condition overload hybrid build versus level 110 heavy gunners, and they're not going to be paused, because if you pause the AI when you're using a melee weapon, you're going to get that stealth multiplier, right? So first, to begin with, I'm not going to use any arcanes, not going to use any abilities to buff up my attack speed. It's just going to be raw, just this build. This is what you're going to get if you're not using anything outside of the weapon builds to deal damage to these level 110 heavy gunners. And the reason that we're testing versus level 110 heavy gunners is because that's the highest level of enemy that you're going to find if you're doing just star chart and sortie content, right? If you're finding anything higher, then you're doing missions that scale and you're staying in there for a very long period of time. So realistically, level 110, if you're just modding for star chart stuff and you're just doing your casual daily content, this is all you really have to worry about, right? So let's just go ahead and spawn in 20 of them. No arcanes, no Warframe abilities, and we're just going to go ahead and mash E on all these guys. And what you're going to notice is as we proc our status effects, such as corrosive, heat, whatever, you're going to start dealing higher numbers and enemies are going to die a lot faster. So again, you're going to get more damage if you use the likes of a different melee weapon. So a Zaw, for example. So this is not the best melee weapon in the world, and it probably never will be. Doesn't matter how much you put into, using arcanes or using Warframe abilities. There's just better alternatives out there, but we're going to have to wait until Melee 3.0 to see if any of that changes, right? So it's taken a while to kill every single one of these enemies, so again, not the ideal melee weapon in the world. You can speed up the process by using your Warframe abilities, by using arcanes, but wanting to show off kind of just how the weapon deals damage on its own is, in my opinion, the best way to show off a weapon, because then people know what they're investing their resources and their credits and their format into whenever they're, you know, going to get this out of the energy lab in their clan's dojo. So, you know, at first glance, it doesn't really seem to have bad stats. It's probably one of the better machetes in the game. It's just overall the machete class is just so underwhelming compared to great swords, etc. Because things like swords, you've got Crimson Dervish, which you have the 200%, I think it's 200% or 300% extra damage on your EEE, right? So that's just spamming E, and you're getting more damage from that. Then, you know, you have the insane multiplicative bonuses from the what's it called in the great swords. So like you can make let's say the Gram, for example, deal nothing but orange crits, right? Just from building up your combo multiplier. So there's that. There's so much more things going for so many more weapons in the melee category that just makes machetes look kind of meh, right? Zaws, especially Plague Zaws, have that built-in viral damage, which is going to half the enemy's health, so it makes it really, really ideal for condition overload builds, and it's crazy. So I guess we're going to go ahead and we're going to throw on Arcane Strike, and it's going to up the DPS of this weapon by a decent amount. I always type in Arcane whenever I'm in the Arcane page. I don't know why. It's just kind of built into me, right? I'm saying the thing, I'm typing the thing at the same time. So yeah, there's that. So to begin with, we're just going to go ahead and we're just going to use Arcane Strike, and then we'll do another run of killing all 20 enemies with Arcane Strike plus Warcry. Now, Warcry is actually going to reduce the enemy armor and give us an attack speed buff, which is going to be extended as we get kills, right? So Warcry is definitely the way to go. That or like a Speed Volt or something is going to up the damage or DPS that you deal with this type of weapon. So we're killing them a lot faster just because we have that extra little bit of attack speed built in, right? So these guys are just going to drop far, far, far quicker. We also have Corrosive Projection on as well. Corrosive Projection is going to reduce the enemy armor by 30%, which is giving us more leeway with the weapon, right? But I recommend, like, if you're going into endgame content, which is what I usually show my builds for, because I have the feeling that if you understand how to go into endgame content, you're going to understand how to do any content in the game. Stripping away that 30% of the enemy's armor is just going to let your weapon perform a little bit better later on, right? So I always recommend having Corrosive Projection on there, especially whenever you're going against those armored enemies, right? Of course, if you're going versus like the Corpus or whatever, you don't necessarily need things like Shield Disruption or whatever, because you have gas damage and the likes, which just bypasses shields. So it's really down to you what aura you use at that point. But let's go ahead and use our Warcry, bring that into the mix, and these guys are going to die so much quicker because they have their armor reduced. We have that attack speed buff. We've got Arcane Strike. We've got Berserker. We've got Condition Overload proccing. You've got enemies falling over, so you can do the little finisher attack as well. So this is just how the weapon performs whenever you have like a fully decked out melee Warframe, right? So that is kind of that. Again, not the best weapon in the world. It's up to you whether or not you want to invest all the forma that I invested into it. I think it was free forma to get this exact build. You can also replace the dual stat elemental mods, the dual 60%. So what is it? I forget the exact names of the mods right now. It's Voltaic Strike and what's the other one called? And Virulent Scourge. You can replace these for the 90%, so you can go ahead and run Prime Fever Strike, and then you can also run Shocking Touch, right? But the thing with this is you're not going to be proccing that corrosive and other stuff as reliably, so you're not going to be getting off your condition overload procs either. So let's just go ahead, cast our Warcry. You will see bigger numbers as you start to strip away the enemy's armor. So this is definitely a viable build as well. This just means you're gonna hit higher numbers base because you're dealing more damage overall, technically. But your status chance going into longer runs is definitely gonna help. It's gonna scale a lot better because you're gonna be able to strip away that enemy armor more effectively, implying you're going into a run that requires you to strip away enemy armor, right? Because you have things like corrosive projection, where if you stack it 4 times, then the enemies have no armor. So it might be worth running your 90% on that type of run, right? So weapon builds are, as always, heavily dependent on what type of content that you're doing and what your intention is, how long you're going to go on a defense or a survival or whatever, what frames you're bringing in to buff up the weapons that you're using, yada, 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 etc., right? So it's entirely down to you what you want to run. You can run a viral build on this. You can run a corrosive build. You can run a gas build. Really down to you. Depends on the enemies that you're going against. And you can run either the 60% or the 90%. Again, entirely down to you. Depends on what type of content you're going into. Depends if you're running with a squad who are all running like... well, what's it called? Armor reducing mods, such as, maybe Seeking Shuriken, if you want to use that, or the Banshee augment, or the Trinity augment, or Corrosive Projection, or whatever. Totally down to you. But other than that, guys, that is going to be it for the Kreska build video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you liked it, hit that like button below. If you want to see more Warframe content from me, hit subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.